Hey everyone, welcome. If you're someone who loves to learn, but you're constantly feeling crushed by physical clutter, digital overload, or just mental fatigue, trust me, you are absolutely not alone. Today, we're diving into this incredible explainer on total life optimization. We're going to break down some seriously fascinating research into a step-by-step system so we can finally reclaim our time. Let's get right into it. So get this, the National Association of Professional Organizers found that the average American spends an entire year of their life just searching for lost or misplaced items. I mean, honestly, half of that is probably just me looking for my TV remote. But really think about that for a second. A whole year of your precious life gone, just looking for your keys, a lost document, or the right file on your laptop. It's a staggering statistic for sure, but it perfectly hits the nail on the head when we talk about the hidden tax of disorganization. All right, to get that year of our lives back, we're going to follow a 5-step funnel strategy today. 1, the cost of chaos. 2, mastering your physical space. 3, conquering the inbox. 4, tactical task management. And 5, building habits that actually stick. Starting off with step 1, the cost of chaos and the very real toll of disorganization. What's really fascinating here is the 80-20 rule of clutter. The research shows that a massive 80% of the things we keep in our physical space are rarely, if ever, used. We are literally surrounding ourselves with obstacles. We really only use about 20% of our belongings on a regular basis. The rest? It's just visual and physical noise. It drains our energy and makes finding that essential 20% so much harder than it needs to be. And look, this chaos isn't just annoying. It drains literal time and money. A typical executive wastes 150 hours a year. That is almost an entire month just looking for lost information. To put that in perspective, financially, if someone is making 50 grand a year, that translates to throwing away nearly $4,000 annually. But honestly, the most shocking metric here, office workers waste a whopping 40% of their workday just trying to cope with the chaos of disorganized environments and heavy workloads. That is wild. Okay, moving on to part 2, master your physical space and clear the clutter. So to get our physical space in check, we turn to the famous 5S lean manufacturing system. But here's a really cool, surprising piece of history. A lot of people credit Toyota for inventing 5S in the 1950s, right? Well, Toyota actually drew their inspiration from studying Henry Ford's 1920s assembly line. Ford had this program called CANDO, cleaning up, arranging, neatness, discipline, and ongoing improvement. Toyota took that and refined it into the 5 Japanese words that give us the 5S methodology today. So we're talking about a time-tested, century-old framework for total efficiency. Let's walk through these 5S's real quick. Step 1 is sort. Basically, you separate what you need from what you don't. A pro tip here is using a red tag holding area for things you're just not sure about yet. Step 2, straighten. This means giving every single item a specific home to eliminate the waste of excess motion. Step 3 is shine. Yes, that means cleaning, but it also means inspecting your area for early warning signs of problems. Step 4, standardize, which is just documenting these best practices. And finally, step 5, sustain, where you turn these new standards into everyday habits. All right, layer 3, conquer the inbox and clear that mental clutter. Now, if your physical desk is completely spotless, but your digital desk is a total disaster, you are still gonna feel overloaded. This quote from Merlin Mann, he's the guy who created the inbox zero concept, is absolutely foundational. He says, it's not how many messages are in your inbox, it's how much of your own brain is in that inbox. Inbox zero is actually super misunderstood. It is not about obsessively deleting every single email to hit a literal zero count. Not at all. It's about reducing your mental clutter, lowering your stress, and getting your focus back. To get that mental clarity, Mann gives us 5 very specific actions to process emails. For every single email, you've got to do one of these. Delete it, delegate it to someone else, respond to it, defer it for later, or do the task associated with it right then. A fantastic trick to pair with this is the 2-minute rule. Basically, if an email takes less than 2 minutes to respond to, just do it immediately. Handle it once, apply one of these 5 actions, and just move on. And on top of processing emails, we really need to write them faster. Just look at this comparison. On the left, we've got this rambling 87-word email that eats up unnecessary time. But on the right, a super concise 31-word email that uses this brilliant 3-sentence rule. Sentence 1 gives the context. Sentence 2 makes the request, and sentence 3 outlines the action. By using this simple framework, you instantly cut out perfectionism, you respect the other person's time, and you save yourself a ton of time in the process. Which brings us to Section 4, Tactical Task Management, where we learn to execute with precision. Okay, so the most absolutely crucial point in task management is the Ohio Principle. It stands for only handle it once. And you might notice this draws a direct line right back to how we just processed those emails. Whether it's a physical document, an email, or a project task, make a definitive decision the very first time you touch it. Whatever you do, do not open an email, stare at it, and close it to deal with later. That just creates mental clutter. Touch it once, make a call, and execute. Now, when it's actually time to sit down and execute those tasks, you've got to try time capsuling. This technique basically forces your brain into peak concentration. You dedicate a short 15 to 30-minute burst of intense, hyper-focused work to a single task with absolutely zero distractions. And the reason this is a total game changer is because it completely kills context switching. Jumping back and forth between different things, it forces your brain to constantly recalibrate, and it just drains you. Time capsuling lets you get a massive amount of work done without the burnout. But what about tasks that depend on other people? For those, we use the two-envelope technique. Mentally sort your tasks into two metaphorical envelopes, things within my control and things beyond my control. If you're waiting on a coworker for a report, well, that goes right into the beyond my control envelope. Doing this massively reduces stress because it stops you from obsessing over the waiting game and lets you focus entirely on the actionable steps that are actually in your hands. Finally, we arrive at Section 5, build habits that stick so you can maintain all these systems. Let's look at the two big behavioral frameworks kind of dominating the productivity space right now. On the left, we've got B.J. Fogg's Tiny Habits, which are super emotion-based. Fogg says start with ridiculously small, quick wins, like deciding to floss just one single tooth. I know, it sounds a little silly, but it generates this immediate feeling of success and emotional momentum. Then on the right, we have James Clear's Atomic Habits. Clear takes those small wins and builds them into a really robust, systems-based framework that scales into a permanent lifestyle. Basically, tiny habits kickstart your journey and atomic habits sustain the whole shebang. Let's break down James Clear's 3 rules for consistency. Rule 1, start incredibly easy. Rule 2, increase by a tiny amount daily. And Rule 3, break the habit down into easy repetitions. He uses this great example of a daily push-up habit. You start with just 10 push-ups. Day 2, you do 11. Eventually, when you work your way up to 50, you don't do them all at once. You break them into super easy sets, like 20, 20, and 10. You know, math was never my strong suit, but you get the idea. The goal is that it never feels overwhelming, because consistency is always going to beat intensity. All right, we've covered the macro cost of chaos, we've talked about clearing your physical and digital environments, and we gave you the daily tactics to manage your tasks and habits. But now, it all comes down to execution. So I want to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative question. What tiny habit will you start today? Just pick one totally effortless action. Maybe it's deleting a single email or just clearing one tiny corner of your desk. Take that action right now and start empowering yourself to truly master your time. Thanks so much for hanging out with me for this explainer, and I will see you next time.